Hi, my name is Mia. As Hank said, I want to thank you guys for hosting me. Thank you, Hank, into the school, and congratulations, this amazing honor at Cannes. That is incredible. I know our team was there accepting a few other awards in advertising, but this is such an incredible honor, and congrats to you guys. And also congratulations to being done, I guess, right, with your quarter, and now starting up fresh face, bushy tail, right, Hank?
Yeah, you got it.
So I'd like to do is take you through kind of the foundation and sort of a 6 to 7 to 8 year project that is IBM design, and then dive into couple different case studies within the events discipline, where I focus in on, but I of course traverse every discipline to wherever they need me. And as Hank mentioned, it is quite critical to be versed in that design language, in understanding systems, in understanding typography, in understanding visual aesthetics of photography and illustration, to be able to function and be a good contributor, an amazing contributor to an in-house place like IBM. So let me share my screen. Is it happening?
Yeah.
What do you guys say?
It's on. You're asking? Yeah, it's on screen.
Are you? For some reason, is it sharing?
We see brand experience design overview.
Yes, thank you. I was thinking that it's sharing my other screen, and that's not going to work. All right, I'm going to play this. Yeah, so brief overview of our work. All right, so we at IBM we make IBM easier to understand, navigate, consume, and love, bringing our unique character and culture to life in everything we decide and design. What that beautifully set paragraph means is, we are poised to bring this efficiency and creative excellence across all deliverables and experience that bear our name. And essentially, if you would cover up the logo on a Mercedes, you would still be able to tell that it's a German engineered car. You'd still be able to tell what it is. You may not pinpoint the fact that it's a Mercedes, but you would know by the way it smells, by the way it looks, by the way it's technically engineered, but how you feel when you're driving it and when you're inside that vehicle. And so with that, we are trying to do the same thing, and we have been on a path to do the same thing at IBM Design. And this is kind of a very brief overview of what we touch within our discipline, anywhere from brand strategy to systems design. So within each business unit, there is kind of a visual language that is appropriated. We cover product design, and that is led by, some of you may know him, Ibm, incredible designer, distinguished designer at IBM, executive creative director, amazing guy, great to work with. And then of course the events discipline, where I focus my efforts in. We also cover workplace culture, so important to galvanize IBMers, to make sure, we have great retention, so even our internal cultures of recognition events as well are present and amazing and design well and follow our design ethos. So in terms of design, this is an amazing piece of archival documentation. This is a letter that Thomas J. In fact, it's not a letter, it is a memo that he sent out in 1959, outlining basically good design is good business. Everybody has this responsibility to the brand and to coordinate it in a way that it's unified and brings disciplines together under one roof, and that is design. And so, back then they hired these, unknowns to build, to drive these teams in these different design disciplines, unknowns like Charles and Ray Eames, Paul Rand, and I can't think of the name, but several architecture greats. And they created this team of talent that would then build the brand that IBM became, and that is. And then somewhere in the future, in 2018, we kind of lost that unity. We kind of lost that one cohesive point of view. And so a team was rebuilt, led by Todd Simmons. He's our VP of Brand Experience and Design. He is also a former PC or M.AD student many years back. He'll hate me for saying that, many years back. But somewhere we lost that cohesion, somewhere we lost that unity. And until now, our design philosophy, our purpose has never been written down. And so in 2018 began this rigorous work to build what is now called, IBM design. And it starts off with our ethos. These are our values. This is what governs basically everything that we do. That first slide I showed you with every single discipline, everything that we touch is governed by our these design ethos. And I think you can find this somewhere and print it out. But honestly, it is the way to bring that kind of unity, that one note storytelling within strategy, within any kind of experience that we create within workplace. Everything is guided by these principles. And I'll let this tell you the story. Tell me if you can't hear this, and I'll pause it and redo. And of course, we start that story with something that differentiates, I think, any brand, any design system, and that is with the typeface. And we created a custom typeface specifically for IBM, designed by Micah Bank. And now we're in, it's extremely global, many languages that we use. It's in practice right now, and you guys are welcome to check out IBM Plex. It is an open source system as much as every other system that we create. It's also open source. Everything is available online to be used. I, in fact, have seen the typeface in a lot of different places, but it's incredible to actually be part of on a trajectory of this experience. I saw him working on this with an agency partner, but it was incredible. And so part of that, what governed the ethos that they govern these types of executions. This is kind of our kit of parts. I talked about the typeface. Everything that we do is centered around and placed on a 2x grid. We have a distinct color palette that is, you know, comes from, you know, has a sense of blue in it in every one. There's some kind of a combination where every single color has blue in it. So it's very precise, very specific, very rigorous. And then also everything applies to these other elements as well. And then you'll also be able to see in our guideline docs, specific guidance to how to use the grid, how to form an illustration, how to use our typography, how to do layout. All of that also exists. And again, this is our all internal work. And I want to emphasize the fact that this team, starting in 2018, we're very brand new, and started off with, you know, employee number one, as Todd always says, you know, he was first, and he started to build this team out. And what you're seeing is the creation of all of this guidance, of this brand being built by, you know, about a team of no more than 30. And again, it was an incredible honor to be part of this.
The 2X grid provides structural, proportional.
I'm not going to go through this, but this is, again, this is just an explainer video to how someone can, for instance, an agency partner that we commonly partner with can come in here and look and understand how to use our grid, how to use our toolkit.
From products to interfaces, business cards to billboards, event booths to expansive environments. When applying the 2X grid, spaces are divided or multiplied by 2, creating columns, rows, and establishing an underlying grid system. Base units are used to establish margins and gutters and inform the relationship between every element. When designing across varied scales or multiple formats, the 2X grid is proportionally adaptable, ensuring harmonious relationships, spacing, legibility, and rhythm. An expression of our philosophy, the 2X grid is fixed and flexible, adaptive to any medium and every scale.
All right, I'll let you guys nerd on. You can nerd on this on our site.
Our work to life. It communicates, guides us forward, and demands focus. IBM's approach to motion design embraces dichotomy, man and machine, organic and engineered. This duality has been distilled down to 2 modes: productive motion and expressive motion. Productive motion creates a sense of efficiency and precision, while expressive motion delivers enthusiastic and vibrant movement. Together, they create an essential dynamic and rhythm that combines the intuitive and the calculated, the flexible and the fixed. From timing and paths to choreography and consistency, motion creates.
So again, very prescriptive. Incredible amount of work went into building something like this that now, as a result, exists online. Yeah, like I said, for everyone to access, to learn, to understand why we do what we do, and you know, the overall goal of something like this, again, is to as that first diagram that I showed, is to bring that unity together, to really speak the same. A common voice within our organization, to be able to communicate to our clients, to our partners, and to build these bonds that in fact propel our business forward. This is a quick little study for our illustration guild, how our illustrations built and how much work again goes into something like this. We have a separate team that kind of works on this, and it's an incredible feat in precision and just understanding inclusivity. You know, we put it on different dimensions, right? This is the flat version, and then this is the isometric version on the right. I mean, again, an incredible amount of work and thought goes into something like this. And we just released sort of the first iteration of the people illustration on our site. And again, as a global brand, we have to make sure that we cover, you know, the trajectory of everyone, of genders, of ethnicities, you know, to to be relevant, to encompass everyone that will interact, that is out there in the world, that interacts with our brand. And then these next few slides just show kind of a overview of what has been built from this perspective. And so this one, again, if you access IBM online, IBM Design Online, this is some of the things that you will see. But also how everything kind of marries together. I mean, this is a combination of many different things, many different projects working across horizontally and vertically within the organization, partnering with, design experts like our agency partners that help bring some of these experiences to life. These are kind of the outputs, the final executions of governed by these ethos, by these design principles. And this is how they come out in the world. And it's incredible to see on one page how something like that can manifest into these visuals and into this consistency and rigor. We do exist digitally, but recently designed an actual book. So I don't know where in the process we are with this book, but everything we talk about our design ethos, anything about design and the history of IBM design is in this book, IBM 360. In fact, it's 360 pages. And again, it's an incredible piece of design in and of itself, but it has an incredible run of archival imagery and understanding about the business, about how design supports that business, about how we communicate out there in the world, and it's beautiful. And then this is just a quick introduction to IBM systems and how those have been implemented. So one of the first projects the teams ever worked on was IBM Watson, and they partnered with, I believe, an agency called Athletics to bring kind of the kit of parts to life. And then it branched out into experiences, into products, into events. And then same with our security brand. Just as important as our visual, so is our verbal. So that you can also see some of that happening here. So we, again, within our Blue Studio, we partner with content creators, writers, to be able to completely tell the story of each system. IBM Research, an incredible part of IBM. I mean, these are the people that are creating these innovations, the minds, the technological innovators, and of course there is a system, a branded system around that team, and this is kind of an overview of their work. Again, you can see how those original set principles and ethos can expand into this world where visual flat printed design meets architecture, meets product from an industrial design point of view. Ibm Ix is another system, and then this is a quick overview of kind of everything we touch within IBM. We also have an internal brand center where anyone from marketers to, again, technologists, anyone can come in and download certain things like, PowerPoint templates, all of our guides and expression systems within IBM. They can download that information, download the usage guidelines, and implement them within their various teams. Something kind of cool, another project we worked on was creating these inspired IDs using the IBM logo. This is kind of a quick little snippet of that work. And this is taking the IBM 8-bar and using fun, playful ways to make it come to life. And a lot of this is used, you know, in presentations, it's used in keynotes. Again, another way to express the brand following our design guidelines. And this is, you know, another part of what I do and what, I mean, everyone on the team does is this art direction piece, which is critically important when working with our agency partners, you know, because we are so new and because we are so particular and rigorous, we have to be able to communicate that vigilance, I would say, to our partners to make our end, you know, our output, our end product be beautiful, be able to be understood by everyone, you know, clear, concise, and just a piece of good design. It's really important. We also have, you know, product arm, obviously led by Mike of Bing. All of our digital experiences, again, go through the rigorous process too, from all of our digital components, you know, from a simple menu design to an entire website. So it is all controlled by our team. And within culture, one of our amazing initiatives, the Be Equal is, you know, the face of IBM diversity and inclusion. It initially launched as an internal initiative to promote and support gender equity, but it's now expanded to include and represent every dimension and identity and intersectionality. And so again, we're working to expand and empower and ensure the equality inside and outside of IBM. And so we've designed, you know, several different initiatives that help our team do that. And this is a DIY app essentially, and we want to make it, you know, in the spirit of Be Equal. We built this brand platform for all to participate in, and individuals and organizations alike. We want to be able to increase that equality, you know, partner together and to become these be equal allies and advocates. Another amazing initiative is, like I talked about before, is celebrating the IBMer. And, you know, when someone's applying for a job or someone, you know, being recognized, we want to make sure that we tell that IBMer story in an interesting way. And this was an amazing project to be a part of. One of the cool details about this is the way that we approach photography. We actually pinpointed individuals within, you know, disciplines within different business functions, and basically had them take selfies of themselves by sending them a camera. And so, but again, heavily art directed, but also kind of bringing the humanity into the process too. So it's an interesting collaboration. That's also online. You can check out I Am IBM on ibm.com. Again, this is also a work in progress right here. This is all about creating a program, a recognition program within IBM to celebrate and to galvanize IBMers internally. This is one of our proposals, and we start out with, you know, basically a physical form. What if, kind of a what if moment, you know, if we had an award for a recognition, and then the system could potentially be built from this. Another example of something that was created in 1968 as part of a design festival, but now could potentially exist in a dimensional form as an actual award. And we have a IBM Design Spark Festival that happens every year. You know, this is part of that branding, but what if we could also make it into a physical object? Workplaces. So another discipline I'm very close to. This is all part of the event experiences and design team. We design workplaces within IBM, and we also help design spaces and layouts for our, you know, external, internal events. And this is a little bit about workplace.
An IBM workplace lays the foundation for community and collaboration. It reflects our values and honors our legacy. We come together at the intersection of science and society, mankind and machine. This dynamic is the basis of design at IBM. Organic and engineered, technology and expertise, local and global. It's space to find our rhythm, to discover patterns in data, and turn research into insight. We amplify diverse voices and encourage new perspectives in an inclusive culture of co-creation. Flexible systems and geometric design create hybrid spaces to meet our need for concentration or collaboration. It's space to connect, to think, to define and engage in a shared experience in our pursuit of progress.
This is an amazing team to be part of for many reasons. And one of them is because as you know, workplace designers, as basically these builders of physical environments and of events, we take that guidance that I just ran through, the guidance, the color, the typography, the layout, the 2x grid system, we take it and we make it real. We work horizontally and vertically across the entire organization at IBM, and this is like just one of those exciting moments to be a part of an IBM design, because it's so new, because it's, you know, this introduction of IBM into the world. There's, you know, obviously some many exciting things coming, but being a part of this team that turns our philosophies into something that's tangible, into something that's real, into something that where people can experience it and live it and breathe it, sort of like the Mercedes example. This is what is so incredible to be a part of. So this is, I worked on the site for this, but we're all, you know, kind of one team working in this coordinated effort to build our workplace environments and our event spaces. Oh, shoot. How do I go back? Okay, and this is just a quick detail about one of the things we installed in Armonk, in the offices of the CEO. This is basically a cut through the cryostat and showing and, you know, using dimension and materiality to build this beautiful work of art, essentially. And there's two examples of it. This is just one of them. And so again, being part of the events and exhibits team, been an incredible honor, but also, again, like I said, just an exciting opportunity, exciting moment to be able to create experiences that have been sort of dreamed up, and then now we're making them real and making them tangible. One of them is Think. This is our marquee event. It is a mechanism to bring the whole IBM together to demonstrate, you know, kind of our differentiated offering for our clients and our business partners. It's major driver of our revenue pipeline. This is what brings in, you know, that brand relevance I spoke about, builds those bonds, you know, creates those client relationships. And of course, our team is responsible for every single piece of execution, all the creative vision and all that execution for the event. These are just examples of each year, there's a different identity, and each year we come up with a creative path to, you know, how we're going to express the event. And this is the work of our partnership with our agency partners to make this come to life. One of those was an incredible project. So it's not only visual, oh, let me pause this. It's not only visual, but it's also we introduced a sonic identity this year, or no, sorry, in 2019. And we partnered with our agency Field to create the visual based on our partnership with Imogen Heap, who designed this sonic identity and basically built this custom piece that is cut into different ways and was used in different formats throughout the event. And the way that she did that is they went to Ibm Research, and she did these, she took her mic basically everywhere, in every single nook and cranny, even outside, to gather this, these moments, this sound that would really inspire this piece. And so here it is. Yeah, so think is what I call our sexy budget. We have other events that are like kind of cute budgets, but this is really where we get to flex the system, where we get to flex our creative power, and really kind of dip into a pool of talent out there, and internally and as well as externally. And partnering with Imogen was incredible, and she was so impressed, and she loved learning the technology behind everything and what IBM is doing, and it was just an amazing collaboration. This is what we call the Think City. You know, we host the event. This was in San Francisco, and it's this giant, this is a floor plan of the space. And you can see that several kind of key interaction areas of theaters and displays that we were in charge of to bring the event to life. This is a quick overview of the event, and it's as much an event as it is a piece of, you know, this editorial content with you know, the keynotes that we build, with exhibits that we build. This was to the bottom right there is a store design we worked on. Something part of what I also contribute to this particular event is anything that involves our merchandising. So from store design, displays to the actual items that are part of the theme that year. So I work with our external partners to source basically materials, to source the type of objects that we want for that particular event. Just another interesting piece of this think puzzle that we do that not everybody really knows about. And so this is a quick, I threw this in as a quick behind the scenes moment of 2020 Think event, when it was we went digital. This is some work behind the scenes of how we brought the system to life. Yeah. This is a behind the scenes moment of the actual built set that was used to broadcast from. how many times can you make those 5 letters feel different, feel exciting, feel engaging? Again, this is such an exciting thing to do every year, and to figure out how we're going to bring this experience to life, to our clients, to our partners, to you. It's amazing. Another incredible partnership we have is with the US Open. We are a sports and entertainment team within IBM. You know, we translate essentially, so every year we partner with the USTA, and we bring the US Open experience to fans around the world. So basically what IBM does is take huge amounts of data and turn it into insights that then improve our fan experience and kind of enable the USTA to work more efficiently to bring that experience to the fans. And many of the technologies that support the tennis experience are also at work across our businesses. So we kind of use this opportunity, the US Open experience is an opportunity to draw those parallels between technology and the world of sport and the world at large. And so we built you know, the tennis experience, not anymore, not this year, but in the past, this is 2018, 2019, for the fans to come and experience about how IBM is bringing the US Open to fans and the underlying technologies that drive that experience. And we have a fan experience, and then we have a client experience where we take the clients through a very exclusive behind the scenes tour, and we give kind of our platform talk. And so this is a very quick overview of that work. We built, you know, the fan experience up here on the top, an interesting way to connect fans and be able to make it a shareable experience. So we designed this with our partners at GPJ to, you know, just make it fun and inviting. And for fans, big problem is this positioning of our experience is kind of to the side. So how do we make it really pop and come to life? But still, how is it governed by our design principles and make sure that it's beautiful and unified? And then I want to take you quickly through this case study about, with the time that I have left, I'm going to try to make this super quick because it's kind of extensive. But again, as part of what I do, there's think, like I said, with the sexy big budget, client facing, and then there's events that are internal. But just because they are internal does not mean that they have a smaller footprint of influence. This particularly our CEO forum, it happens every 2 years. We're still in process of kind of designing and thinking through the next one. But this is a very intimate gathering of some of the top leaders out there from big companies to come together and have this moment of discussion in 2 days. And so we are designing this event and kind of programming the content and leading sort of the strategy for something like this. And I wanted to take you kind of from beginning to end result, just so that you can see, because this process also relates to pretty much everything else that we do within our team. So again, it's a huge partnership internally within teams, like content with research, and Dario Gill, who leads our research for IBM. So partnership with these technologists, partnership with an internal team of designers, of writers, and then also partnering with at least 3 other agencies to make the whole experience come to life, from the interactive experience that really tells our technology story, to the experience on stage and, you know, how our, you know, room design, etc. So it starts with content, and, you know, we know that we want to talk about this kind of merge between science, business, and culture. And so the content strategy leads then how we express this event visually. So if it's divided into these 3 key stories, you know, how do we then envision the experience based on this content? You know, so we know that future of computing is based on XYZ. How does that enable businesses to do what they do, and then what type of culture does that require. And so within the experience design, you know, then we go into the kind of understanding of space. We look at floor plans. We look at what else can we do in order to bring that space to life. This was, I don't know if anybody's been to the one hotel in Brooklyn. We were literally in an auditorium space. So for this year, and why I wanted to include this, we had the opportunity to build extra to bring the experience in these 3 stories to life, because truly there wasn't room to do that. And so this, what you're seeing at the top, those 3 kind of little rooms, these square cube rooms, those are new additions to the space. And so just like any project, any design concepting, you guys are familiar, we then riff on, you know, what are those visual cues that we can draw from that then define that those content pieces, those 3 content modules, and how we tell that story with visuals. So again, concepting, then some of the stuff's supposed to be moving. Then we do kind of a quick mood boarding exercise. And this, you know, this all in a couple of pages is really quite nice, but this is iterative. And this is a lot of back and forth. And this is a lot of management of expectations of stakeholders, of designers, and of the whole process of art directing multiple teams. And you know, it takes a village. So anyway, so again, we're in the concepting phase about how this comes to life. And then within our built environments, you know, this is how our experiences, you know, based on that and that kind of work, this is how they come to life. And so we built these kind of 3 very engaging, very different experiences that tell those stories, supported with, you know, the secondary visuals, exhibits, you know, 3-dimensional sculptural things, all done within our team, partnering with the agencies that bring some of the stuff to life. Again, within each one of those areas, there was a storytelling component. And so it was very important that we told that story in a beautiful way, articulated it clearly. And again, that partnership is key between research, between us, between our agency partners to make this come to life. And this was a click-through experience that we had docents around the hotel to tell the story within each space. And then there's, like I said, there's a staging component to it. Again, it's iterative. How are we going to frame the speaker? How are the presentations designed? Every one of those details, what the furniture is going to look like, all go into the planning, this massive strategy and planning of this event. And this is sort of the final product. You know, we work with manufacturers to build the set, to print on different types of materials. So a lot of testing happens behind that. I think I tested this IBM and the scrim behind it like 16 different times to make sure that the transparency was just right. Lighting design, all of it comes to life in this one or 2 days. And then this is just a quick snapshot of how we built the staging piece and the presentations and how they look in situ. We also support, have a supportive set of collateral pieces, including a book. There's name badging, signage pieces, and an app that supports the experience as well. And then these are some of the quick little behind the scenes shots of these extra additions being built. And of course it rained. So that made our creative director extra happy, but it did come out, it came through, it always does. It's sort of like a very long journey to the critique. And then at the end, it all works out. And then last but not least, I do want to talk about really quickly about the recognition program in one of our marquee events, which is Best of IBM. that's no longer. We're working on a new strategy, as I talked about before, for our recognition. And this is just a very quick snapshot of how that gets made. So Best of IBM honored IBMers throughout the company, and they went to this exotic location every year, and the visuals are driven by that exotic location. So we partner with, potentially we source and partner with a local artist that can make this experience come to life and creating these unique visuals. And this was the first year we wanted to do something that also incorporated motion. In the past, we just had an illustrator design these little illustrative moments. But this year, you know, this year, 2019, they went to Bali, and we really, because this experience, they do experience on the outside, but there is a program that contains them to the inside. So really wanted to bring that outside in, and wanted to use motion to do that. So again, any project we research, this happened in Bali. We researched Bali. What is, you know, that incredible culture? What is true to that culture? What are the art pieces? What are the, you know, the architectures that are around that can influence our design? And then after sourcing the artist and providing some specific photographic direction, we decided that, you know, these are the color palettes. We sort specific Bali flora found in Bali, specific to the place. So it has to be, you know, it's very identity driven. It's very sort of personal. So we didn't want to mess it up. We wanted to use those kind of ingredients from the place. And then the final product came out with these really cool little illustrations that spoke to that culture, spoke to that nature, and wanted to make it as colorful, as bright. It's a, you know, as that culture, and to bring that outside into a feeling. And she also, the artist, also created these little stop motion animations, which were really neat. Again, all contributing to the final product. And that would be, you know, staging, that would be signage, that would be a mobile app. And then this is kind of a crazy slide, but you get the effect. I'm going to pause there because I'm out of time. Thanks, guys.
Mia, that was amazing. That was amazing. So, and just to sort of preface it, you know, I have one question I want to ask you before we turn it over to some others, but just the size of IBM is colossal. And I know usually when designers first go there, one of the first things they have to do is unwind that big ball and figure out what this company called IBM with 400,000 employees that are genius level employees do, and how the systems work. And you know, I think, I may be wrong about this, but I believe that IBM owns more patents, certainly in the United States, than any other company, which gives you an idea of what the depth of this company is and how it integrates with our lives all the time. So with that sort of noted, how in the world, what led you on this career path to get here from one day having yourself in a seat with all these troopers that are focusing in on this? How'd you get there?
Honestly, well, my career changed as I think a lot of people can relate when they come to the school. I was on a path. I graduated with sort of an industrial design background, but I was still a creative in design. But then after I graduated college, I went and worked in politics for some unknown reason. It was more of a passion of mine, and also a familial kind of recognition there. And after spending, you know, about 4 years in government and in politics, I decided that what I really want to do is just continue to be creative. But how can I use that experience of my, you know, undergrad, of this political experience, of this versatility, and then marry that and study design. And I did not know anything about design until coming to school at Portfolio Center in terms of like, you know, the basic principles of design, like typography or, you know, color, or, you know, even having a sense for what good design was until I got there. And so I think the experience at what I'm calling PC, but it's M.AD, it was invaluable to me in my trajectory and in my now future, because I learned what all of those, you know, what that kit of parts was. But I also learned that you have to be really very hungry for this. And I learned that you kind of have to just take the bull by its horns and make decisions and really go for those certain experiences. And part of that was me going to Hank and saying, hey, I hear Carbone Smolan is going to be presenting at one of these insider series. I want to be able to meet and greet and host, and, you know, Leslie Smolan, a partner at Carbone Smolan Agency at the time, I want to really take her around and show her and host her and help her craft her experience here. And I think the rest was history. I was able to grab that spot. It was not, you know, everybody was kind of going for it, but I was lucky enough to get there early to Hank's office to be able to say that I'm going to do this. And that resulted in an internship in New York City pretty much immediately after to help Leslie with some of the initial ideation for a top client and some of those early discovery stages of the design. And so, yeah, so I think from then on, I just sort of built a knowledge base. And really, it's the connection continued, like the PC connection continued in the real world, because from Carbone Smolan led me to Knewton, where another PC or Katie was working. And because of that connection, she hired, I mean, not because that kind of made portfolio in its own right, but she also knew the kind of students that come out of the school. She also knew that this work ethic, that this kind of hunger to make amazing work, hunger to be better all the time and to iterate, that exists within the school, within the students. That's ingrained. That's something that's very true and something that's incredible to learn within those 2 short years. And so she hired me. And then again, my next step would be to get, I wanted to hone in on more of that agency experience, to get some client work under my belt. Again, that connection was made with Josh Burda at BSA Partners. He ended up recommending me and hiring me. So this is a very quick response to that, Hank. But I think what gave me that is that confidence that the school provided, and to know that people out there, it's a small community. That design community is very small. The PC community is very small, but everyone keeps in touch. Everyone supports each other. And once you know that you're a student from the school, you know what that's all about. You know what kind of work ethic they have. And so, yeah, I got to IBM through BSA Partners by starting to work on their internal, their corporate events program. And now I work with my kind of, I don't want to say idols, because I don't want to idolize anybody, but at the time, you know, people like Todd Simmons, Micah Bank, these are the people I researched at school. I learned their work, and now I work side by side with them. So it's an amazing honor.
Before you kind of get through here, I know there's a couple other people and there's some things in the chat box, but you know, if I had to plug one word with you over the years, it would be perseverance. You persevere more than anybody I know. And I have a suspicion it probably started a long, long time ago, even when you were young and small. And I think that's the story worth sharing with these guys, how you got there, your mom, et cetera.
Oh, yeah. So I immigrated to this country in 1994 from Uzbekistan, former Soviet Union. I was 10 years old, and my mom was in her early 30s, and she brought me and my grandparents into this unknown land with no language. We didn't know anybody. And, that kind of immigrant experience and that, the word of perseverance, probably grit, because you really have to fight to gain an understanding with others. And I came at a time when, it's like that 10 years old, it's like middle school, early childhood it's not an easy time. So you really, you're in charge of kind of crafting this identity, and kids are tough. And you kind of have to form, kind of a tough skin and be able to get back up, and not to sound cheesy, but it's true. I mean, they harassed me for being an immigrant, and I don't know if anybody else can relate, but if you're different, people are gonna poke at you. And that kind of experience, that kind of mentality, that kind of like drive to keep going, because I have to. I want to be successful. I want to make something of myself. I think is that true sort of perseverance and that immigrant experience that shaped that. I know at PC I struggled a lot after the first quarter, and that comes from that harkens back to being a kid and not having that confidence to speak up, not knowing the language, that being teased, bullied sometimes, and that kind of the confidence levels went down a little bit during PC. But again, you have to keep going. You have to present. You have to do something. You have to say something. You have to show something. And I knew that. And that kind of attributes to the success of just building a portfolio, but being just knowing that you have to keep going, and you have to produce, and you have to really go after something that you really want. And I knew this is what I really wanted. And my confidence levels are not going to get in the middle of that. So, yeah.
Well, thank you. I think there are a couple of the people that were texting me. Margaret, I think you're somewhere on here. I don't know where you are. Had a question.
Hi. So this is kind of going off a lot of what you said before about kind of the design industry being small and like learning from people that you work with. So like, do you have someone in the design industry that you like look to the most for inspiration or admire kind of the most as you're working and doing stuff?
Mm-hmm. Oh dear. So a couple of different things. When you're researching something, yes, there are certain companies and agencies and kind of singular creators that you go after. I know in school, I was kind of in this very experimental vibe. So Sagmeister was a huge influence. Sagmeister Walsh now, although I don't know how they are. I think it's still Sagmeister Walsh. Kind of lose it. But I think in terms of, I don't know, I guess you're asking about sort of the design heroes. It's who you hear about. It's who you guys are researching. It's who you guys are learning about. Specifically at IBM, we look a lot to the past to create, what you've seen, to create this kind of present and future. So we look at people like Paul Rand, who revolutionized design. You look at even kind of independent creators. You go to conferences and events, and you learn about students that are making some real impact out there. So I think this word hero, and that's why I said, like, I hate to idolize somebody, because it really, to that extent, I think it kind of takes you back a little bit, because to me, it's became this kind of, I'll never reach that portion of I've never reached to those heights, while you're still trying to design and create and make work for the business that you're working for the agency that you're working for, the client that you're working for. So I think it kind of stops you in your track. But informing yourself about what kind of design is out there. What are some new things that are happening? You know, like athletics is doing some really cool things. It's a Brooklyn agency. There are some other ones I'll be able to share maybe after this, and we can talk after this or whatever. But it's about who's really contributing and who's really doing something innovative, who's really creating some waves out there. And that comes from just you taking the time to educate yourself about the industry and about those people.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Mia. Good to see you.
Hi.
How are you? Obviously. Thank you so much for coming to speaking with us today.
Good to see you.
Yeah, you too. I'll keep it short because I'll text you about it, other ones later. But yeah, as you know, IBM is dear to my heart. This is actually, I am in PC or Portfolio Center because of IBM, and everything that you said is just, it's amazing. Mm-hmm. So my question for you is just more like a direct question in the sense of, how is it working at a company, like a global company like this, as a woman, and it coming from where you came from, and how have you, like you were talking about confidence and dealing with bullying and having to persevere and push. How do you incorporate that into your work life as a woman?
Interesting. That's a great question. Look, IBM is staunch supporter of diversity and inclusion with initiatives like Be Equal that is now ingrained into not only our internal culture, but it's actually, again, it's this open source that is available for other companies, other people that want to be more engaged in culture and want to be supportive and inclusive of other cultures, genders, etc. As a woman, it's still pretty male dominated. I know Todd always says, I'm talking about diversity and inclusion, and I'm sitting in this small meeting, and I'm the white guy talking about, diversity and inclusion. We're the women. So IBM is especially in design. We're in process always of hiring everybody from different backgrounds, different diversities, from every gender, every association, et cetera. I mean, it's incredible how much such a huge company, like you said, such a global company, puts this stand, and they stand up for this idea of inclusivity. And again, it's like ongoing work. I'm not going to say that it hasn't been sort of hard to have that voice sometimes. But I also work with a lot of amazing, competent, talented women that also serve as mentors. Should anything arise like that. I've never experienced, discrimination. I've never felt like I was not included in conversations, but sometimes I did feel like I had to speak up a little bit, or sometimes you do feel like you're being talked over. And those are real things. And when I do talk to my female colleagues about this, and they offer different perspectives, really stand up to that and say, hey, I'm talking, I'm speaking, let me say my thought, and then you guys can keep going. And I don't think that the intentions are bad. I don't think there is such a, an intention to hurt someone or to not, to not be equal. But it does happen. And you do sometimes feel like it's a bit of a different experience, but again, you persevere and you attack those right away. You talk to someone, you say, how do I make this better? How do I approach someone? But again, like me personally, I've never felt different as a woman in design. I do have to speak up a lot louder though, I'm telling you. Like, I have to be pretty firm in my decisions and how I speak to projects and how I speak about our work. So that does come into play. Awesome. Sorry, I don't know if I answered it.
You did, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Let's get some questions going from everyone. Everybody got Stephanie, are you still in here? Are the mics on? I can't tell. Are you guys on the air?
Yeah, I think the mics are on. I actually have a question. So when I think about IBM, I think like you were just talking about how it's a global brand, and we were doing a branding project last quarter that was more like corporate, and I really struggled with the balance between, you know, how do I keep this feeling corporate, feeling like informative the way that IBM is, while also having fun. And I just want to know, like, how do you balance that? Because all of the things you were showing us just look so interesting, but like it still maintain that corporate sophisticated feeling.
Yeah, I mean, I think you answered it right there. I mean, if that felt corporate to anybody, I don't know, like, you know, I guess we went wrong, but what I'm trying to say is, you take that out of the thinking, I think, initially, right? This is an IBM brand, IBM. There's a certain type of culture, certain type of internal culture. There's certain hierarchies. There's executive stakeholders that expect something from you, and that expect to see work that reflects, you know, what they want to communicate, how they want to speak to clients. That doesn't mean that the work cannot be provocative. That doesn't mean that the work cannot be interesting and versatile, right? Because again, we're governed by this set of principles. And once we explain where we're coming from, this is putting it very in a short form. Once we explain where we're coming from as a design system, as a design ethos to these partners that we work with, they kind of jump on board and they say, okay, let's take these risks. You know, IBM, you know, technologies, services company, product, software and services company is all of a sudden creating this work with Imogen Heap at a global event that, you know, all of these, you know, sort of corporate entities come and interact with our brand. You know, when does that happen? But it's because it's the good work. It's because the idea was good. And you were able to talk about that idea and to sort of sell an understanding that this is governed by this whole notion, this set of principles, and this is why it's appropriate and it works for the business. Now, again, if corporate means what, like, I don't know, rigid forms. I don't know, what is corporate to you? Memos, we get those.
Yeah, right. I guess that's what I think I definitely struggle with, was like, I wasn't even sure. I'm like, because I did United Airlines, and so I was like, how do I make planes fun but keep them corporate? And then I was like, well, what does corporate even mean? And then it just came out very dry. So that's really helpful, like, here.
I mean, it's like asking the right question, right? How do I make these planes fun? Sure. Also, how do you make them safe? How do you tell the story that this is a brand that's an experience? You know, you talk about the culture, you talk about how they've come to be United Airlines, and then, you know, you kind of take a piece of that information, and you use it as kind of this guiding principle throughout everything you do. So we're, you know, this kind of merge between technology, you know, man and machine, right? So some things that we are that are kind of rigid. Rigid is a bad word, but it's fixed. And then the other parts are fluid. So it's injecting that kind of humanity into something that is, like you're saying, stoic, corporate, more technology focused. But also technology, in a sense, technology is fluid. Technology is impressive and interesting. So again, taking something like, you know, that what you saw, that little cross section into the quantum, you know, chandelier, and visualizing it, you know, in a beautiful way as a piece of art. I think that's kind of the metaphor of how we do it in IBM design, is like just little pieces of information and how to make that beautiful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. The presentation was really like had me going. I was like, man, I could have done so much with United and I didn't do it. So I got to go back and do it again.
Yeah. And again, like I think I answered this too. I mean, feel free to reach out with those kinds of questions. And I know Hank can call me anytime. And if you're struggling, I'm available to talk to you about it. I don't know if I answered the question or if I articulated it to the best of my ability, but I think even, you know, some more of a private setting, I'll be able to kind of provide examples and to show you how, you know, something like this can come to life through a brand like IBM and through a company like IBM.
I would love that. Thank you so much. And you definitely answered my non-question question for the moment. So thank you so much.
Of course.
I have a quick question. I just want to say the first time I ever saw the grid video, the 2x grid video, I watched it in repeat. I watched it like 8 times in a row, just like totally blew my mind. And you know, I kept exploring all the brand videos that IBM has too. You know, you're in brand experience. And, you know, you do a lot of work for spatial design, and obviously that overlaps to digital. How do we as designers, art directors, copywriters, how can we kind of approach our work with that mentality of, you know, making sure the brand experience stays consistent throughout everything we do?
Thanks for that. Yep. Get it. Again, consistency is governed if you're setting a set of these principles for yourself whenever you start designing. You know, there's 1 through 3. This is what I must stick to, and everything that you do underneath that is governed by that. So, you know, in our case, you know, one of those, I guess, examples would be setting a typeface. Designing a typeface for the entire system that brings this kind of unity to the entire brand and immediate recognition. Now, I know some of you guys are not typeface designers, but that's just, you know, kind of one example. But then based on those outlining principles and that kit of parts, then you find ways to incorporate them into a digital and a physical world. We also have guiding principles for our products, for our digital products. We have guiding principles for our physical spaces. I can go in between because I have experience in both. I'm not a practitioner necessarily in digital, nor do I build sets with my own hands, right? But I have a basic understanding of how to apply the typeface and color in such a way that those experiences on the product side, so the digital end and on the physical end can tell the same story. And honestly, with IBM design, Todd always says this, we're conducting this symphony, right? It's all these different instruments. There's a percussion side, there is a horns, there's, you know, a singer or whatever. And they're all those are different parts, but they all contribute to this making of one song, right? So we're not trying to be uniform. I don't think consistency is about that, but it's about creating this sort of unity. And it comes from these like governing principles and then some big moves that you can make, whether it's choice of type, whether it's this, you know, style of illustration that you choose and you stick with. You know, in our case, we do, it's very simple. It's very, again, this idea of fluid static. It's the grid system. Every single element is applied to the 2x grid. So 1 pixel to a whole booth design. Everything is laid out into that flexible grid. So that kind of consistency with this underlying kind of system of parts really keeps it all together and really, you know, makes it come to life. We also have a point of view on photography, for instance, that I did not go through, but our whole image department, IBM is not stock anymore. You know, a lot of companies still use stock photography. Sometimes we have to use stock photography. I mean, I spent a lot of time sourcing imagery that fit our design guidelines, but nothing is better than creating our own. And so there's this huge effort to source and work with world-renowned photographers to, again, talk to the what is IBM design when you look at it in photography. What kind of photographers do we want to work with that specialize in this kind of look and feel that we want to project? And then if you want to get really into the details, again, if you apply the 2x grid to a photograph, is there a certain horizon line? Is there a certain, we know that we don't want to shoot from top, from a weird perspective. It has to be eye level, let's say, right? We know we have aerial shots that kind of, you can see this kind of geometry at play. And it's all kind of cohesive and sort of beautiful, but we don't want to zoom in too much where there's a lot of noise and distraction into an image, right? So that's just one example. I mean, every single thing, every single process, every single medium is carefully selected and scrutinized, and all under this guiding kind of network of principles that we've established as a team. Now, I didn't write those ethos, but I couldn't tell you, like, if I was to set out and create a brand right now, how much of this would I take away and how successful would I be? I don't know. I've not tried. That's something for you guys to experiment with and to figure out and to do. But I'm good at implementing it. I'm good at seeing those connections and being able to take that instruction and then visualize it and make it tangible. From experience to just a single app design.
Thank you. That was beautiful. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
I wanted to ask, since you seem to cover so much ground in terms of your work, and just in terms of how many different projects and different kinds of projects that you yield, what is for you, what is the kind of things that you do to keep everything coordinated and you want people to be creative and flowing, but at the same time you want to, have a system kind of going? All the work you have.
Yeah, so we have, especially on the events, we have to work ahead, and because we have physical environments to build, that takes huge amounts of lead time. So when I say we are a team, yes, we are a team of creatives. That's so important. But you should also be a team player when it comes to project management teams and, again, our agency partners and their teams. And so for one event, we work with all of these people to keep it together. Now, when we first started, it was just me and a couple others, and we were led by our creative director on the events environments. And then, our executive leaders like Todd and Mike were kind of building that strategy. But we had to be our own project managers and for all of these events. And it was incredibly difficult. Again, but you do it. So you take it project by project, but now we actually have designated project managers. So when you guys are, working, I know that sometimes you guys work in silos and sometimes you guys work individually, but when you do work as a team, I think it's really important to pinpoint specific people that are going to play specific roles and have that sort of humility to whenever to admit like, hey, I'm not good at this point, this portion of it, but I'm good at this. So I'm going to take over this project management. I'm going to send out meeting notes. I'm going to make sure everyone's on track and we're building something that is going to deliver the outcome that we want for this next presentation or for whatever brand or product we're building. So I don't know how often you guys are broken up into teams, but I think that relationship is super important in order to have once you have the idea and be able to execute it creatively, but to also have something, a presentation that you can share. And that you can talk to the idea. I mean, a lot of times I remember I was so focused on the work and on the design and on scrutinizing every single pixel and color that I completely ignored the presentation. And the magic is in how you sell this idea too, right? It's in the work, but then also it could be the most beautiful thing you've ever designed. But if you don't have that organizational level behind how you talk about your work, if you don't have that story, if you're not on time, then why none of what you made, none of what you design actually matters, because no one's going to see it. No one's going to know about it. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a balance. I think it's how you work with people. I think it's knowing what you are good at, knowing what you're not good at. It's a lot of delegation, and also being kind of fast on your feet. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Mia. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So thank you for coming and speaking to us. This is an amazing presentation. So I read an article recently about like how sound is something that brands can use to be like recognizable. And in watching your presentation, a lot of the videos have this almost like kind of like chimey kind of sound. I was wondering if that was intentional and like how IBM approaches sound design.
Yes, very, very intentional. Just like anything that we design that's visual, we also apply the same kind of rigor to our audio. I'm losing my words, to the voice, to the sound of the brand. We partner. So one example, and this is a smaller one, but for the Think event, our marquee event, right, when we partnered with Imogen, that was kind of our next step to not only have a visual identity, but have this sonic piece too. But a sonic identity that talked to our, that is supported by our design principles, meaning that it's simple, it's fluid, it has sort of this delightful, but it's not overwhelming, not it is grounded in technology, right? And Imogen, even as a partner, is a technologist, right? So even when you're choosing someone to partner up with on anything, including design, you also kind of have to understand who that partner is. She's a technologist. She's, you guys, I'm sure, are familiar with her work and her music, and she creates her own symphonies, her own pieces of music, her own sonic identity, all on her own, using the technologies, and she continues to iterate, and so that's really critical when partnering up with people that would create our sonic identity for different types of situations. I've worked internally on projects where we just, you can see how some people who are not trained in that, or who are not very versed in the language for IBM design, try to create sound design. And it sounded like, what did I call it? Oh God, sounded like you're taking off into space and there's robots everywhere. What you would assume the technology company we're headed into the future, so everything has to be, whatever, Terminator. I don't know. So that's what it sounded like. It was like a lot of beep, beep, pop, boop, pop, beep, pop, pop. And that was wrong. I mean, just because we're a technology company doesn't mean we lean into that kind of language. But yeah, you're right. Those little sounds that you heard, those are completely prescriptive, completely thought through, and scrutinized at every detail. And someone would be like, well, I didn't like this little higher pitch. Maybe take it lower. I mean, everything is sort of dissected before they are included in these videos. And I did not create or participate in the creation of these explainer videos, but I know that when the work was shared, I know that was a very important topic in it to this. And that right now we're actually creating, I think they're working on sound design at the moment for the brand. It's just right now it's not something that's a priority, but it will be. And anytime that those types of videos are created, sound is incredibly important, and like I said, very scrutinized.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I definitely got like the simple and like the futuristic aspect of it. So I'm just so curious, but thank you.
Yeah, of course. And we do have some new work that has come out. I don't know if you guys have seen, but it's all new, kind of a brand platform campaign that released. So I mean, you guys can check all of those spots out on YouTube. We just Google "Let's Create" with IBM. And what I just took you through, a lot of the new effort is trying to fit that new brand platform work and those principles to make the brand kind of feel lighter, brighter, still working in this kind of trajectory to make IBM simpler to understand, make it easier to partner and work together. And so we're making some really exciting work like this past year, since February, really, with the new kind of IBM look and feel. So that's ongoing, and sound, voice is a huge part of that. The verbal brand is extremely important. How we communicate, really, the typography and the voice really drives the visuals. So I encourage you to look at that. But then it's also about pairing that typography with image and video and graphics, and how simple it looks and how beautiful it looks. But again, simple is very, very hard. The hardest thing to do, make something simple. How much can you take away? I don't know if Hank ever did this to you, but he writes simplify, simplify, and he crosses out one of the simplifies. That's an important lesson. And it's still very hard to do for a lot of people, even in the professional world.
Mia, before we go on, do you have that? Somebody's asking on the chat box if you have that link.
Let me.
And while you're at it, Eduardo is asking, how do we stay in touch? And if you have questions going.
Yes. How do we stay in touch? Well, I am available by phone, by email. It's still actually, no, my email really sucks. Honestly, just email me, mia@ibm.com. By the way, that is a very designed by me handle, email address, 6 or 9 characters, whatever, mia@ibm. You'd be surprised, like, how the hell did somebody not take that already? But I was blessed with it. So it's very simple, mia@ibm.com. And that link I shared is just quickly, it's our most recent spot for the Masters. We also power the Masters experience, similar to the US Open. And we run that site. And that was a spot that we recently did. And check out the work of Man vs. Machine. They're incredible. They're our longtime partner. They do some really beautiful motion work and storytelling. In fact, you guys mentioned AKQA, another partner. I work with them to design the events site. That was an amazing project too. So they're an incredible partner with IBM Design as well.
Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. My name is Tyler. I'm going to be one of the admissions advisors helping you guys to start your creative careers here with the Miami Ad School with our 4 portfolio programs: art direction, copywriting, photography and video, and design, as well as our boot camps. We are well equipped to make you well equipped for the creative industry. And my job is to help you transition smoothly from prospective to enrolled student. We have financial aid and scholarships available for all of our portfolio programs, and our 4 U.S. locations, Miami, Atlanta, San Francisco, and New York, as well as our international locations, are ready for you guys to go ahead and enroll when you are ready. So feel free to go to our website, www.miamiadschool.com, hit apply now, start your application, and if you have any questions, set up a call, and we will be happy to help you.